Okay. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Gotta check on the phone. Testing.
Testing.
Look, it works. I can hear it. Can you hear it? Can you hear me? I don't know why the focus also isn't good. This thing usually like kind of auto focuses. It'll have to do. So I have good news and I have bad news. Good news is a lot of the discussion was saved. The bad news is a lot of it was lost. I'm going to have to go back in the chapter and sort of speed through a lot of what I said because the entire point of why I do these discussions is not only to discuss with people, with other people, which I would love to do, but also to share my own ideas on the series, which I think that I think my ideas have worth in this world. I want to get them out there. I'm like freaking out. I'm thinking like, how often do I need to check the audio? How do I know it won't just drop out all of a sudden? I'm also wondering if I'm too loud because the last stream's pretty loud. I learned when I checked it. I have to keep checking now. Listen, we're going to continue with the discussion. If it happens again, we'll see what happens. I'm going to cut down the first stream until the audio cut out. And this will be the second stream. So I'm going to be rushing through what I said. Okay. So I'm sorry if it seemed a little mad. I am a little mad because it's not going to be as good when I talk about it the second time. So all the books fly away. It's going to be really funny. I'm going to be like going through all my bullet points in my head. Books flying away is reminiscent of the final pages of the original series. They have to decide what to do with the mummies. Zara doesn't want more monsters to come in, and we now know that her name is spelled Zahra, and it's not spelled like Zahara because an Arabic-speaking member of the Discord let us know about that. And then Kyo makes the somewhat reluctant decision to call Apollo Genesis, who is a very beloved human partner character, sort of considered a rival to ZATCH and Kyo with his Momoto ropes in the original series. And this scene reminded me of when Tony Stark reluctantly calls Captain America in Infinity War. Not everything that reminds me of something is something that I think is a reference, but it does remind me of it a lot. But that's cool. And we don't really get to see what happens with that, but presumably the mummies are going to be kept somewhere until they can be activated. I did quite a bit of speculation on how exactly that would happen, in what order the events would happen, when the Momoto would break out of their mummies. I don't really want to go through all that again, but just know that I talked about it if you had questions about that. We see Zatch eating, and this is a scene where we get the answers to a lot of questions. One of which is what's going on with Zatch's body. It's not his real body. He's borrowing it. We don't know what kind of body it really is. His clothes came from a brooch that was inside the mummy. What is that brooch? Is it an heirloom of his family? Does every Momoto have something like that inside their own mummy? Is the brooch important in some other way? Because Raikou gave it an awful lot of detail in his drawing for the exhibition that he's doing right now. Zatch knew about the plan, about the contingency plan with the mummies. He also knew about this spell. He had this spell to sacrifice his own life force to save others. It was given to him by a guy that kind of looks like his dad. It's kind of hard to tell. It looks like his dad if he was small, which I believe Raikou said that he can turn small. He found the ZATCH page in his desk drawer, which was probably sent by the spellbooks themselves. He talked to the people in his court about this, most of whom are in shadow. We don't know if they're important. They might not be important. One person who seems to be kind of important here is Mippy, who clearly has some kind of connection to ZATCH that we don't know about. It's pretty funny. It's such a weird looking character. Is like ZATCH's BFF now, apparently. ZATCH wants Yellowtail. Good reference to the original series. I talked about how it's kind of crazy to see all these shots of ZATCH's face now and him making expressions that are sort of similar to the ones we're used to from the original series, because his face looks the same, but at the same time, it would have been really weird for Raikou to change it because his face is sort of iconic, and ZATCH is kind of the mascot character of his own series. I ate Yellowtail earlier tonight because I got some sushi and I was like, I have to order sushi with Yellowtail because to celebrate ZATCH Bell 2. So then we got a really crazy reveal, which I do kind of want to get into, even though I already did in the other stream, that ZATCH is 19, but Q thought it would be 14. Now there's a couple options here, and it's already caused some debate on Discord. I don't know what happened before. The audio has been fine ever since the stream started this time. And now, where's everyone that was in the chat? guys, where are you? Okay, so ZATCH is 19. Q thinks he's 14. How would that be possible? I'm inclined to trust what Kyo says and believe that it's been approximately 6 years. I don't remember if it was really confirmed that ZATCH was 8 years old at the end of the first series. It's generally believed that the first series took around 2 years in total to take place. And it's probably been only around 6 years since the original series, which isn't that much time. ZATCH is 19 because he is saying he is 19 in essentially Momoto years, or even more specifically, humanoid Momoto years. He says that demons grow in different ways. It depends on our species. So just like dogs have dog years, Momoto have Momoto years. Maybe they know how to count those years. So even though it's been 6 years in both the human world and the Momoto world, ZATCH knows that he has the body of a 19-year-old, even though he's only 14 human years old. The other option is that time actually moves faster in the Momoto world. This is something that was speculated on for a while. I have to check the audio again because I'm moving my mic, and I don't know if simply moving my mic will make the audio drop out again. I'm still spooked about this. I'm seeing the audio go up on the stream, so I know it's working now, apparently. The little, thing that measures how loud you're being. So people speculated on this, that maybe time moves faster in the Momoto world. And it's not impossible. It's weird that ZATCH didn't mention it, I would say. If it is that it is the way things are, it's weird that ZATCH wouldn't mention it, but it's not impossible. The general speculation was that time moves faster in the Momoto world, which this would track with if ZATCH was 19 in his world and less time has passed in the human world. He's jealous of his brother Zeon for being taller. Zeon stormed the enemy's fortress, which I think we see later in the chapter. That was the last we saw of him. Probably going to see him again later. ZATCH gets a little sad again. Akio gives him another pep talk, and here it's revealed that Ted, Cherish, and Rain are okay. And this was where I got a little, I don't want to say negative, but, it brings up a discussion point of, is the series actually really going to have stakes? It presents itself as a series with much higher stakes than the first one. Ziggy dies in the first chapter, and he stayed dead, despite what people thought. I kind of thought he would stay dead, but Wade died. He's a villain. We didn't know him for very long anyway. But all the main characters who supposedly died are now okay. So do we know there's really going to be any stakes in this series? The first series handled it so well. That's one of the things people like most about the first series. If this series might not really handle it too well. It might just be another shonen that says, oh, the stakes are high, but then no one actually dies. To be honest, I wouldn't mind if Raikou, killed some good guys. You're killing bad guys now, Raikou. You're killing guys we've known for half a chapter. Kill some people we've known forever. That's what you invited on yourself. That's what I kind of want to happen. Sad as it'll be meaningful. This is supposed to be a dire fight to save the fate of possibly two worlds. Let's see that. Kyo mentions Brago and Acheron so that they can hold their own even without spells. Hey, Justin's Game. Thanks for tuning in for the third time. Think the audio should be okay now. You asked, you mentioned that I did not stream last month, which is true. I was visiting my parents, and there was just a lot going on. And I didn't end up streaming. Last chapter was, probably an okay chapter not to stream with because it was another action-based chapter. Really cool, but not much happened. Yeah, I mean, thanks for the concern, but yeah, I'm fine. And I will be streaming at, hopefully every chapter until the series ends. So Kyo gives out a pep talk. Then they are at Ziggy's grave, and they're sort of saying a prayer, which I don't know is because they're sort of following the Egyptian culture, or if this is just sign of, this is what Japanese, I think, Buddhists, do. They sort of, I'm not sure if it's praying or what exactly the gesture is, but it's kind of funny that, like, most of these kids are from a different world, but they're all doing that. But they're paying respects to Ziggy. Zatch thanks Zelly and Olmo, and then he winks at Mippy. And this is we finally caught up to where my audio cut out. Well, not where my audio cut out, where the last stream, where I was informed of it. This is the point of the discussion that I got up to about halfway through the chapter. When I had to switch streams because of the audio. Zatch winks at Mippy, and Mippy winks at Zatch. We don't know what it means. No one seems to notice it. People are questioning, is Mippy important? I think this might just kind of be a joke, like, you're my guy, Mippy. I know you. If no one got me, I know that Mippy's got me. I think Mippy might just kind of be Zatch's pet. But if not, maybe he really is some sort of high-ranking guy in Zatch's court. I don't know. Zatch doesn't really know who they are. The demons have been stripped of all their spells, including Zatch's Bowser Kerriga. And then we get a 2-page spread of Bowser Kerriga. He appears to be suspended in some sort of liquid. It's kind of hard to see exactly what's going on. This is the fearsome final true form of Bao that was unlocked during Fado and seen for the rest of the original series. On the next page, we see that the Bao, that's how I pronounce it. You think it's wrong, then, sorry. Is in sort of a tank. It's captured. It seems alive, but it's captured. It's staring at this cloaked guy. And there's a bunch of other smaller tanks and jars all around. The jars look like the jars that are used to hold the spell elements that they were using to fight. But there are ones of various sizes, including one that's sort of linked up to the Bao tank. So I'm wondering if other bigger things are held in there. But it's a cool spread, It's cool to see Bao in this state. This is a shot that would be in the trailer for sure, For sure. Then we see this mysterious cloaked figure. Possibly the leader of these invaders. He looks pretty crazy, cool design. His name is Belial. And he seems to be in charge, by the way Gil talks to him. Gil's kind of mad at him, though. He says, give me Bao. We got to go back because you gave me these crappy spells. Then the guy says, need I remind you of whom you're speaking to? And he crushes Gil. It like crushes Gil's body, kind of like a Gravi Ray, except centralized. Brago did have a spell like that later on in the series. He used it on Clear. It seems to be a really grievous injury. He's really crushing like his bones and all kinds of stuff there. But Gil's okay because he's like, not human. So another interesting reveal here. Gil says Wake's been killed. The boss says that thing was already dead long before now, just as you were. Gives us really interesting insight into the nature of these people. Both Wake and Gil are considered dead. But possibly in different ways. A lot of people kind of speculate that Gil is sort of a golem or a homunculus, something that was made by people. He was given a name by the card, and he has a sort of core that was placed on his chin. Gil doesn't seem to have that, though. Gil said he used to be a human. So maybe he died and went to wherever dead souls go. And maybe that's where this guy's from. And this guy brought him back to life, in a sense. Wasn't it said that Bao would devour ones with evil hearts? So isn't it possible that Bao would just devour Wade or Gil if they try to cast it? That is possible. That's a good point. That'd be kind of interesting to try to see later on. Maybe a villain will try to use it and they'll find it too powerful for them. It's a good thing to bring up. He says, what a rapturous sight. With this, all of my dreams shall finally come true. What those dreams are, we don't know. We do see that this guy's eye, Belial, his eye, is very reminiscent of the thing on Wake's chin, what I call his core. I don't remember if I don't think it's the exact same design. I don't remember if it really looked like an eye, but it had like that sort of circle with the 4 points coming out of it. And then we see the fortress, presumably the fortress that Zeon stormed. And it's a crazy place. This is both a really insane piece of art, and like it's a little confusing. It kind of comes out of nowhere, which a lot of the 2-page spreads in this series do. Like sometimes, manga, and certainly like if this was a TV show, you get like a couple shots of like the sky and like the landscape surrounding it, and like maybe the top of the thing, and then you zoom out and show the whole thing. But here we just go right to it, which is something that's happened several times in the series by now, with the spread of Bao earlier, with the shot of the Momoto world being all destroyed from chapter, I think, 2. I don't think Zeon is dead. No, yeah, I don't think so either. I have a hard time believing that any of the old characters are dead, which is something I'm sort of worried about, is that there's going to be no stakes. But we got this really crazy piece of art of this fortress of villains, their base. And it looks a lot like Minas Morgul from Lord of the Rings, which I would recommend you look up if you're watching this. It is the city that the Witch King made his base in Lord of the Rings. And it was sort of similarly, while this is like a dark bluish or purplish, Minas Morgul is dark green. And it also had like spires, sort of the same general shape. And especially these two sort of spires on the lower right here that have very pointy tips. Minas Morgul has those too. So we don't know exactly where this place is. If this is in the Motor World, if this is somewhere else. We don't know where in this building Belial is. Is he at that thing in the top there, this sort of orb-shaped room? Or is something else kept there? Is that just where he lives most of the time? Is this weird thing at the top a ship? It's sort of being held up by some sort of energy from the rest of the building. At least that's what it seems like to me. I do think this is the place that Zeon went into, and he may be captured now at this point. The spread is really crazy. It's kind of hard to tell if it was like drawn just by Raikou because there's so many effects on it. It doesn't really look like any color spread from Raikou that we've seen before. But then again, most of his color spreads are not just locations. I wonder if he did have some help with this. It's very detailed, impressive. So 1 week later, Kyo's leaving the village. He knows it's going to be all right because it's going to be a tourist attraction. Everyone's sad to say goodbye to him. They all like him a lot. And ZATCH sort of makes him happy, you know, to see everyday life again, something that was lost in the moto world. He says, I want it back, and I'll do whatever it takes to get it back. Suddenly, very suddenly, almost as if this page is like, like added in at the last minute. A familiar figure walks by. It was Hige from ZATCH Bell, saying, hey, you're that guy I met in Japan. Ha ha, you still got that book of yours now? Ha, didn't think so. Kyo says, who is this guy again? And Hige just goes by slurping his ice cream, just like he was the last time we saw him in the 2-page spread near the end of the first series. I guess he's Egyptian. Kyo doesn't remember him, which is a classic joke in manga. The heroes don't remember the minor bad guys. So then there's a part that I really liked where Zara's saying goodbye to Kyo. She's saying, hey, thanks for, you know, putting me in charge here. But just so you know, I'm definitely not getting into any scuffles with any more monsters. And they laugh. Ha ha ha, that's funny. Yeah, you're going to be fine. Then we see in Zara's room, there is a spell book. And it seems to be colored too. Hugh said the other books were white. They looked white. This one's colored. Now I'm thinking this may be Zelly's book, but it might not be. But that's so awesome to me to know that Zara is going to be back and fighting as a partner, a Mamoto partner in the series, because I think that's what a lot of us wanted. She's a cool character. So then we got the big final part of this chapter. Kyo names some more Mamoto because ZATCH says, hey, I remember. There's one demon who I know must be safe. Kyo says, who is it? Brago, Wanrei, Danny, Umaga, and Acheron? And something I mentioned in my first discussion, I don't remember if it was before or after the mute, was that it's really funny to see, like, A, all these questions getting answered, and B, all these characters getting mentioned in this chapter. Because, like, ZATCH Bell 2 was up to now not a series that had, like, really any references to ZATCH Bell 1. Like, it had returning plot elements, which is sort of a different thing, you know? Like, seeing Zakar again, it's like, it's not a reference. It's like something you can sort of expect to happen because it's part of it. It's an element of the story that's returning. Ted, Cherish, and Rain, they're sort of used as sacrificial lambs to set the stage and up the stakes, even though we know that they're fine now. But now we're just getting a lot of references. Hige showing up. Kyo's mentioning a ton of Emoto. ZATCH is talking about his brother. It's kind of funny. The floodgates open with this chapter. It's a very crowd-pleasing chapter. I said at the beginning of the last video, which should have been captured, that this might, it's arguable if this is the best ZATCH Bell 2 chapter. There's definitely the most ZATCH Bell 2 chapter. It's just got the most stuff in it. This is a pretty funny setup, just the way this dialogue goes, where Kyo saying, who is it? Is it one of these strong guys? And ZATCH says, oh, he was the first to run away. And Kyo goes, And then as the car goes away, he goes, Concho-me. This has already caused some discussion among fans, saying that why would Concho-me run away? He had a lot of character development towards the end of the series. A couple of things. I mean, one, where did we just know what Zatch said? That's all we know about the situation. We don't know what happened really with the situation. 2, Conchime didn't have his spells. What could he do without his spells? You know, if you can't fight, you know, is there really that much shame in running away? Conchime isn't strong without his spells. 3. What's 3? I don't know what 3 is, but those are 2 good explanations for it. I had a third one, I think. I'm sure Conchimay's fine. I'm not sure. You know, I don't think he's gonna go fully back to the way he was before. So then we change scene to Italy and Milan. You know what's coming when it says Italy, and then in Milan you straight up see him. Amore, Parco Folgore. This is probably the name of his concert. This bottom panel here clearly contains a lot of. It's traced from a real photo. At least the people are. You can really easily tell that. Yeah, I mean, he might have, but I just still, I don't. It doesn't really bother me to say that he ran away. We'll just wait for the situation to be shown because it probably will be. As we've seen, especially with this chapter, a lot of questions that fans had were eventually answered, just not immediately answered. You know. So then we see the one and only hero of Italy, Parco Folgore, and this was so weird, so weird to see. Because this is where Zatch Bell 2 is like starting to feel real. You know, the first step to Zatch Bell 2 feeling real was Zatch showing up again. You're like, wow, it's Zatch and he's older. That's crazy to see in 2022. And now we just see Folgore again. Folgore, one of the biggest characters, one of the most popular characters from the original series, the most well-known character in the entire series by people who are not fans of the series due to his hit song. And it's just crazy to think like this is where we start seeing the old characters again. And it's going to keep happening. Next chapter, we're probably going to see Conchime. Who knows who after that? It's just crazy to think about. Like, this is where it starts to feel real, you know? Before Zatch appeared, it was like, yes, it's Zatch Bell 2, but like, we're still building up. We don't know what kind of story it's going to be. We don't have all these old characters back. We don't have that real sequel feel. But here it is. We got Zatch. Now we got Folgore. We got a mention of Conchome, who was surely running to his idol, his partner and idol, Folgore. Folgore's looking good. He's looking much the same as he did previously. Probably more evidence, I would say, that it's only been 6 years since the original series. Still mega popular. Still a hit with the ladies and everybody. Does a cool pose. I wonder if this pose is maybe inspired by some real pose by somebody. He's got the voluminous hair, which got much more voluminous as the series went on. And he's on stage doing his thing, singing Chichi wo Moge, his hit song as the crowd goes wild. Beloved by millions. He is. Then, outside the concert venue, someone wearing heels, high heel boots, says, "This is it, the city where that demon runaway fled to," presumably referring to Conchime. Looks like a young girl. Looks like Gil and Wig really dropped the ball this time, so I guess Will have to pick up the slack. Yes. These are the new villains of this arc, our second villains. Second pair that we're going to be fighting, just as humans are with Momoto. We have, let's call them sorcerers, and then I would kind of say homunculus is generally the word that comes to mind for me. People have used golem to describe Wig, but Wig looked like a golem when he was in his form. He looked like Goran, who is clearly inspired by a golem. Yeah, I talked about Zatch's age earlier, Justin. Can I call you just Justin, or should I just say Justin's game? And It's been a point of discussion for people. What I said I thought was that I think 19 is, like, basically, like, how we have dog years, where, like, you know, a 2 in human years is 7 in dog ye is n 14 in dog years, supposedly. That I think it's something like that, where I think time goes at the same rate in both worlds, but that Zatch just ages, differently, and so he knows that he kinda has the body of a 19-year-old. That's kinda what I think, but it's also possible that time moves faster in the Moto world, but if that's true, it's weird that Zatch didn't mention it. Um, and I also mentioned that, yeah, I love that Zara is getting a book. I hope Zelly is her partner. I don't know if she will be. It'll be funny because then we'll have to either go back to Egypt or Zara will have to come to wherever our characters are. But everybody seems to like Zara so far. I'm really happy she's going to be returning as a fighter. But here we have these new villains, and they're really crazy designs. Our guy on the left here is sort of looking something like Zoro, not One Piece Zoro, but the swordsman Zoro. He's got this crazy hair and he's got these sort of maybe tattoos on his face. Might be hair because bottom looks like a goatee, but the rest of it, that doesn't look like a mustache to me. He's sort of bandaged up on his chest. And he's holding the case, which might make you think that he is sort of the wig of the pair. He's the monster. The other one is the sorcerer. But I don't think that's true because this girl, at least it looks like a girl, we don't entirely know their gender, has that same sort of planet-like thing, which seems to be in like a some sort of liquid on her chest, and Wig had that. So I think that essentially confirms that she is the Wig of the pair. She's the monster. She's going to have a monster form, and I have a feeling the reason why the guy is holding the case when Wig was holding the case before is because this lady probably thinks that she's so strong she doesn't even need the case. She's got a couple weird things on the sides of her outfit, which look like large cushions. They're like pillows or cushions. Some people thought they were weapons. I don't see how that could be. Maybe they turn into weapons. But it's such a crazy final scene cuz like I didn't like there's several points in this chapter where I thought it was going to end, you know? First point was when they showed the Bao. I thought once they showed Bao, it would just end after we saw him in the tank. When it continued, I was like, "Oh, phew, we're gonna get to see the villain." Okay. Then I thought it might end when we saw the villain's lair, the fortress. I was like, "Wow, this is a crazy two-page spread. Maybe it'll end after this." But no, it keeps going. Then I thought it would end when we saw Fulgore. We see his beautiful face. We see him jumping around. I thought, oh, it'll end here. But no, there's still 2 more pages, and then we get to see these cool new villains. That's a crazy chapter. So much happened. So much. We got a lot of questions answered. I know there's a lot I haven't thought to say. There's some stuff I said in the first part of the stream before it got after it got muted that I've now forgotten about. And we might sort of, we're seeing this sort of become a real shonen series, now that the setup is over, going to a new location, getting a new fight. But I don't think this is going to go quite like Zatch Bell, where it's going to be one fight that is, 2 chapters long. And then we go to another location and get another fight with another pair of villains. I think these arcs are going to be longer. These fights are going to be longer. The villains are going to stick around for longer. And I think we're going to have a lot of development aside from that with each new fight and each new arc. That's one of the great things about this series so far is how Raikou makes sure to put like a little bit of pretty much everything into like every chapter. Even these fight chapters that we've gotten the past few months before this one have always had tidbits of information and cool little reveals. Zatch being able to use her shield from a distance. Um, Gil's entire sorcery thing, Gil being a human previously. Yeah, I mean, the other books, like, who knows how that's gonna work? That was something that was lost in the first stream that I talked about after the mute. I spent a while talking about that. I don't really wanna go over it again, but, like, what happens when someone finds a book? What if the Momoto in the sarcophagus is from the battle 2,000 years ago, and their partner's dead, and Zophis didn't make a new one? What happens then? I don't know. I would love to keep talking about this chapter for like 15 more minutes. There's so much. It's such a crazy chapter. Just scene after scene after scene after scene. There's heartwarming moments like Zatch hugging Kyo, and just continuing to be lifted up by Kyo, and the life that Kyo has in Egypt, and it's a really beautiful thing. That's been something cool with this series so far, is that, like, the first series is about Zatch helping Kyo a lot. At least the beginning of the first series is. And the beginning of this series is sort of about Kyo helping Zatch in the way that he can. You know, it's a cool thing. It's a nice thing. As Kyo's just a human. He's just a human, as all the villains say. But there are things he can do just by being the guy he is, having his personality, having his intelligence, that are special, especially to Zatch. And that's a really nice kind of sentiment. You know, how much time has passed for Kyo? Like, how old is he now? So yeah, I mean, I think if Kyo thinks Zatch is 14, then he thinks that that's how many years have passed since the original series, is enough years that Zatch would be 14. So if Zatch was 8 at the end of the original series, and I don't know if that was 100% confirmed, and Kyo thinks he's 14 now, then that means there's been 6 years, which hasn't been that much, but that would make Kyo about 20. Which isn't impossible if he's like a super genius, and became a professor and stuff. I think it would be a little silly, but it wouldn't be impossible. So Zatch was 6 at the beginning of the original series. A lot of people say that the series takes place over the course of 2 years, so Zatch is 8 at the end. But like I said, I don't know if that's confirmed. I don't know, if Raikou sort of started drawing Zatch, like saying, "Oh, he's 8 years old," at the end, and then we know that Momoto aged differently anyway. So like that doesn't really matter too much. So it's 6 to 8 years. We'll say that then. It's been 6 to 8 years, which means that Kyo is 20 to 22 years old. That's what I'm going to go with. That's what I kind of believe until it's otherwise confirmed, if time moves faster in the Moto world or whatever. Belial is really cool. Really crazy design. He's clearly gonna have another design once he takes all that stuff off. I wonder if this is the guy who was putting the cards in to give Wig his name. It seems like these villains have a pretty big operation going here. They got a whole big fortress. There's another YouTuber who does Zatch Bell 2 chapter reaction, which I don't do. I do these discussions. Who was big into like demonology and like the history of demons, and was talking a lot about Belial with an A, the demon, who's mentioned in the translator's note here from Ray's. I don't really, beyond the general inspiration of the name, I don't know if I'd really draw any connection out of that. Momoto are demons, so for this guy to be named after a demon, that is kind of interesting, because he's presumably not a Momoto. But clearly he has a plan. He has dreams that are going to come true. And I think he will attempt to use Bao. So we will probably see what effect Bao has on him. Maybe he's so strong that he could tame Bao, even if Bao does eat darkness in people's hearts. He managed to trap Bao. So I think we will see Zatch attempt to make a new Bao which will get us the dragon on the cover of the first volume. When that's going to be, I don't know. It could be next chapter. It could be like a while from now. How do you feel about ripping pages out of the book? I don't see an issue with it. That's the ritual. You know, it was funny. Keo was doing sort of like a daisy chain, I think was how that was sort of what I thought from what he explained, where he was taking a page out of the red book, putting it in a stone book. That book becomes paper. He takes a page out of that book, puts it in the next book, and so on and so forth, which I think is pretty funny. But I mean, I love that we're just, the plan is now in action to revive more Momoto to fight in the human world. It's really cool. It really makes you wonder how long the series is going to be, like I said before, because that was a lot of books. There's a lot of mummies. I'm really excited to see where the story goes. Maybe Mippy is some kind of secret agent. Maybe he's got a secret purpose. Maybe he's just Zatch's pet who sometimes does stuff for him. I love seeing Zatch as a real character. We've been waiting for it ever since he showed up again. It's been awesome to see him fight, but I just want to see him talk to people, have a conversation with Keo. It was so cool seeing it. He's funny. He's more mature. Crazy seeing him again. I mean, it's like seeing a kid you knew grow up. It's really crazy. I can only imagine how it must feel for Raikou himself to write. These characters are probably like kids to Raikou. I think he has his own kids, but he also has these fictional ones. That was Don Bell in this chapter, right? Yeah, I think so. It's weird that he's normal size, but I think Raikou said that he had that ability to change size. So I do also think that that's him giving Zatch the healing spell. Great chapter, incredible chapter. What a series this is. This is why I love monthly manga. Well-written monthly manga is like some of the best stuff just to read. You get a little bit of everything every month. Next month, what are we going to get? We're going to get Conchome. I think Fulgore's concert is going to get attacked. Fulgore is going to try to distract the villains by dancing. I don't think he'll run away. Maybe he will. And then Conchome, I think, is going to arrive and fight. And then maybe when Conchome, who, if he has any spells at all, would only have Poruk. Now, it's an interesting thing because Conchome is not revived from a mummy like Zatch. He just escaped. We don't know if he still has his spells. Maybe he escaped to the human world before they stole all the spells. But in that case, he wouldn't have run away because he would have Shin Poruk. Be able to deal with anybody. So no, I think he doesn't have any spells. How does he get a spell back? There's no stone book for him to have. Maybe he did have a mummy in case he died. And this book from that mummy went to Fulgore. Or will go to Fulgore. Either way, I think we'll see Conchome attempt to fight the villains, showing that he is a good guy. He'll fight when he needs to. People who think he's regressed back into a coward can chill. I'm not that mad or anything. Discussion is discussion. People are just throwing ideas out there and being kind of concerned, which is fine. I think we should trust Raikou. He's not going to change Conchome too much. And I think when Conchome and Fulgore start to have trouble, Zatch and Keo will swoop in to save the day. I personally wonder where Zatch's other spells are at this point, because how is he going to get by with, just those old spells for long? Yeah. I mean, I think it's cool. It raises the stakes that, they don't have many spells. But Zatch's old spells are gone. Bao is captured. The other spells are probably in these little lightning bolts that are probably in other jars. But I think they can make new spells. I think that's what all this is pretty clearly leading up to. Kyo was like so clearly like super interested in the sorcery that Gil was doing. He just like immediately started to like sort of unravel it and decode it and try to see how it worked. I think he's absolutely going to develop that and use it to get ZATCH new spells. Which, you know, like I said before, might lead to the new bow from the cover of Volume 1 being created. Yeah, I think that's all I got to say for now. I really hope I didn't forget much. It's a real shame I lost some really good. It was solo discussion. There was no one in the chat, but it was still a lot of stuff I want to mention from the first video. But you know, Zatch Bell 2 is starting to feel real, and it's only going to feel more and more real the more characters we see show up. It seems like the series is going to be pretty long at this point. We're going to have a lot of Momotos and partners. I think we're going to have a lot of villain pairs too, including these new pair, these new goons that we're looking at. I like her design a lot. His design is freaking weird. Her design is cool. But I think that these are humans who were revived into some sort of magical being form after their death. Excuse me. Sushi I ate earlier. It's very good sushi. And then they're paired with these homunculus type beings that were created. And they have monster forms. I can't wait to see what this girl's monster form is going to be, because Raikou loves drawing monsters. We know this from his early pre-Zatch Bell work. We know this from the later sagas of Zatch Bell, where there were a lot of monstrous creatures. We know this from Animal Land and Vector Ball. That should be possible, Justin. I sort of think that even like the spells that weren't unlocked probably were also stolen by the villains. But, you know, I think when Kyo, you know, is going to create new spells, they'll probably be similar in nature to like some spells that Zatch could have unlocked. Like, I don't know. Like Zatch transformation. I don't know. Thunder armor. I don't know. That would be like an ascended form of Browseruk. I think that's all we got. If I can think of anything else, I will write it in the comments, or I will just write it on Discord. I take that off. And this was such a great chapter, and I really wish the stream didn't have issues, because I really wanted this just to be like a good, well thought out discussion and presentation of my thoughts on it. And if you go back and watch the first part, I think at least up until it got muted, you'll find that like I had a good stride going there. But that's that for now. As far as we know, we'll get the next chapter in a month. And Raiku's exhibition is still running. It's awesome to see pictures of that. I wish I could see pictures of the actual like full rooms, though they don't allow those in those exhibitions. The exhibition merchandise is going to become publicly available by the end of November. I'm going to buy some of that for sure. The electronic spellbook has been released in Japan. It's awesome. Some people have gotten their hands on it. It's so cool. It has manga exclusive spells being read by the original voice actors for the first time. I like how Gastil does this thing where he hides his arms in his cloak. Yeah. It was really funny when he did that the chapter before last, and he looked like an actual bell. It's sort of like, oh, is that why he's named that? I don't think so, but he did look like one there. Zatch and Kyo figures are going to come out, and my freaking survey I'm finally going to be finished with. And I'll post the results everywhere. I think I should. and I'll probably make a video on it linking to those results. It's been really interesting to tabulate those results of the Zatch Bell fan survey, which I don't know if you saw my video on that. But it's been really fun to do that and to see everyone's different thoughts and feelings on the series and discover some kind of interesting things about which characters and parts people like and don't like. And I'm about to do the Zatch Bell 2 section of that and sort of get that written out for when I'm going to post it. But that's what's going on in the Zatch Bell world right now, as far as I know. Thanks for watching, Justin. Majora Z showed up earlier. I don't know where he went, but I'd like to thank him for stopping by. Shame that other people couldn't stop in, especially to discuss this amazing chapter. I'd almost say, like, if I knew that I could, like, do another stream another day and people would pop in to discuss, then I would, but I don't know that that's gonna happen. I don't know that another stream would have more people in the chat to discuss, but I would love to hear other people's thoughts on this, because I know that there's things that you've thought of and that they've thought of that I have not thought of, and then there's things that I've thought of and speculated on that you guys haven't thought of. That's why I like discussing things. But for now, thanks for watching. Maybe I'll make some other videos in the next month about various things. I always say I'm going to do that and I don't do it. I'd love to review more things that I do. But for now, Zatch Bell 2 has been amazing. It's going to continue to be amazing. Can't wait for Chapter 8 next month. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.